Hey guys, Blake here. Today I'm gonna just do a real quick video on how you take apart the bottom end of a XL12 saw. And this same process applies for most similar Homelite saws like Super XLs too, except there's one thing that can be different, and I'll tell you what that is when we get to it. It's finally starting to melt the snow around here, so I can actually get back out in the garage for a little bit. It's still pretty cold, but not cold enough that I'm going to freeze to death out here. Alright, so the first main part of taking apart your XL12 bottom end is, of course, taking the clutch off. So basically what you're going to want to do is have your cylinder on and have your piston in and everything, and then you're going to want to stuff some rope or something soft into your cylinder, and then that way you can turn it over and then it's going to push up against the top of the cylinder, and then it's not going to want to turn over. Okay, kind of sucks that you have to do it that way, but if you don't have the special tool, which I doubt any of you have, you're going to have to do it that way. Then you're going to pull off your nut and your drum and everything, and that's regular threaded, you know, righty tighty lefty loosey, and then you're going to be left with the clutch itself. And so these things, they tighten as you cut, and they're reverse threaded, so they're really hard to get off, like really hard, like snapping bolts. They're torqued on there. So it took me a while to get mine off, but what I ended up doing is there's these holes in it, right? And I took and I put a center punch in here, center punch in here, and then I took a big chisel and I ran it underneath this one and over this one, right? It was on here, and I just pried and pried and pried and pried until finally, after quite a bit of prying, and originally I used bolts instead of the center punch, and I ended up snapping the bolts. I finally got it to break loose and then pulled it off like so, and I mean, it's fine, it's plenty usable. And then you also got this plate behind it, which just pulls off. Well, if I can get it off. There we go. Okay, so once all that's said and done, you can go ahead and pull your cylinder back off. And then, of course, you're going to have your piston sitting there on the rod, right? Like normal. And your rod's going to be in there, okay? Well, it sucks, but you're going to have to take your rod off first. And your rod is a fractured rod, which is stronger, but it makes it look like there's no seam between the top and the bottom. Trust me, there is. There ain't no way to have a one-piece rod. So you're going to undo the Allen bolts for the rod. And then mine was kind of magnetized, and most of my little needle rollers didn't fall into the crankcase. Instead, they just stuck either to the rod or to the crankshaft itself, and I was able to pull all them out. And you're going to want to save them, because you can't find anything like it nowadays unless you want to order a minimum order quantity of like 1,000 of them, or you want to pay like $30 on eBay for a little baggie that says Homelite on it, whatever. So anyway, you got the rod off, you got all the little bearings for the rod out. Now this is where it's different for an XL12 than it is for Super XL, at least that I know of. I might be wrong, but from what I've seen, this is where it's different. XL12, you can simply pull everything out from each other, like so, and like so. However, what I've been seeing, I think it was Leon's Chainsaws or something. I was watching a video of his, and he was pulling out a pulling apart a Super XL. It might have been because it was an auto or something. I don't really know. I wasn't paying that much attention. But basically, for that, he could pull out the main case side like this, but the crankshaft would stay on this side, right? And the reason being for that is that there is, I guess, some form of a clip between the bearing and the seal that clips onto the crankshaft and holds it in, get what I'm saying? So it doesn't pull out, I guess. And to get to that, there was like, you'd have to go watch his video, but there was like two really tiny bolts here, or maybe it was on this side, I don't remember, to get to it, and then you'd have to pull it out that way. But for the XL12, pretty dang easy, just like that. And I'm going to be rebuilding this bottom end in a little bit, and putting all new bearings in it, hopefully, bearings and seals. And when I do that video, I'll show you guys how I do that, and then I'll also give you guys all the part numbers for the modern day equivalents that you can just find on the internet. When you do pull this crank out, you're also going to have a couple thrust bearings. Should be a thrust bearing and a thrust washer on that side, and thrust bearing, thrust washer on this side. So yeah, just keep that in mind. And if you're not going to go replacing the bearings, which I don't know why you'd be pulling this apart if you weren't going to replace the bearings, but just keep those safe, and because you never know, you might end up having to reuse them, so whatever. Alrighty guys, well, I'm going to call that it for this video, pulling apart a XL12 crankcase, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks. Oh, and we're at 164 subscribers, I think it is, at the time of me posting this or whatever, or at least time of me filming this. That's pretty good, man. I'm trying to get to that 200 mark. We're close. I have a feeling I can get there in a month or two, maybe. Alrighty guys, see ya.